Rebreathers are often seen as a dark and scary side of scuba diving, but they're starting to creep their way into the recreational side, and you can even do your PADI Open Water on a rebreather if you like. So normal scuba, where you blow bubbles, is called open circuit, or OC for short, because every time you breathe out, you lose a lung full of gas. Rebreathers recirculate that gas and turn it back into fresh air, so they are much more efficient at gas management. Your exhaled gas gets passed through a scrubber to remove the carbon dioxide, and sensors then analyse it and O2 content just to top it back up. By this method, you can breathe the same lungful of gas over and over again until either the scrubber is saturated or you run out of pure oxygen to top it up. So if you're in the market for a rebreather, or if you've never even heard of one before, let's take a look at some of the pros and cons of a rebreather. Now I'm going to mix them up a little bit, so it's not all pros and then we're just going to end with cons, because, well, you know, it's just fair, isn't it? With open circuit, you analyse your gas when you very first jump in, and that is the gas that you'll be breathing for the next hour or so. As you descend and ascend, the partial pressure of that gas will change, limiting your depth and changing your rate of absorption. As you breathe the loop of gas on a rebreather, it continually analyses it with every single breath, and it either manually or automatically adjusts the mix so it's optimal. This way, your NDL just explodes and you can stay down much longer. One manufacturer has a really nice example, and they put it like this. If you made an hour-long dive to 30 meters, you'd need 74 minutes of deco on open circuit. On a rebreather, you'd need just 11. A decent unit will set you back a few dollars, and each unit has its own training course, so the capital cost can be high. But in the long run, if you switch wholeheartedly to rebreathers, they do work out cheaper to run if you dive frequently. You always need to dive with a redundant open circuit gas supply as well on a rebreather, so there's another cost in all the stage cylinders that you're going to need, so it does start to add up. And you still get the maintenance and service costs of first stages and the cylinders and the rest of your equipment. Woo! When you switch to a CCR or even an SCR, you'll notice just how noisy open circuit diving is. The stereotypical Darth Vader noise of a second stage cuts through water, and both you and the wildlife notice it. On a rebreather, you'll notice just how little fish react to you when you cruise past, because you don't disturb the water and make so much noise they feel the need to leave. They just sit there and do their thing. On a rebreather, I have to literally shoo away fish from an area because they just don't care that you're there. You're not making any noise and you're not blowing bubbles. They just see you as a big version of them. Open circuit teaches you some really bad habits for rebreathers. The most important thing is that you can't just take out your mouthpiece even when you're on the surface. Because the loop isn't pressurized, you need to remember to switch the mouthpiece so that the loop doesn't flood. You can't just throw your unit together and jump in like open circuit neither. You have to assemble and check all the parts on a rebreather and check the valves and run a pre-breathe as well, just to make sure that everything is working and you don't have any tiny leaks. Even once you've hit the water, you and your buddy have to run bubble checks to make sure that you're not leaking gas from any part of the loop. Every breath from a cylinder will be dry and about as warm as the surrounding water. You inhale this and then your body warms this up and makes it a little bit humid, and then you just blow that all away on open circuit. You're just wasting it. On a rebreather, you exhale this nice warm humid gas and it recirculates back to you, so you're breathing in air that's nice and warm and humid. This is particularly nice on a cold day. You will find that you can stay down a lot longer because you're not breathing cold, dry gas, so you don't get that dry mouth neither. It feels weird at first because it isn't pressurized, but once you get used to it, you will love it. Because your displacement weight changes with every single breath on open circuit, your buoyancy changes as well. It's one of the first things that you learn to fine-tune your buoyancy. Rebreathers have counter lungs that you exhale into and breathe from, so the volume of gas doesn't change that much. Because of this, you can inhale and exhale as much as you like, and your buoyancy won't change at all. Granted, yes, open circuit regulators have a few moving parts as well, but rebreathers have quite a few parts that you need to check and maintain before every single dive. With open circuit, you have one resource that is used throughout the dive, your gas. On a rebreather, you have a diluent, you have oxygen, and a scrubber as well, so there are a few more resources that need to be checked and topped up before every dive. Open circuit is pretty bulletproof. You can do whatever you like within reason, and your regulator will just give you gas when you ask for it. Rebreathers work best when you are in the perfect trim position. You can't really look up or down on a rebreather. You really have to stay pretty flat, because if you pivot upwards, all the gas rashes up to the highest point of the loop, your mouth, so you balloon up. And the opposite happens when you're head down, swimming down into something. All the gas sort of rushes down into the counter lungs, so you kind of have to coax it so that you can actually inhale it. Okay, so we're going to end with a fairly ambiguous pro and con merged into one. You look pretty badass with one of these strapped onto your back, which is definitely a pro. The con is having to explain the unit and how it works to everyone at the dive site, because you draw such a crowd wherever you go with a rebreather. And that does take up your valuable dive time, so you do have to put that into consideration when buying a unit. Anyway, what do you think about rebreathers? Have you ever tried one? Do you own a unit? If so, which one? There are a whole bunch out there, so what made you choose that particular one? I mean, that in itself is another 3 or even 4-part video on deciding which rebreather to go for, because there are just so many out there and they all have their little features. But let's discuss breathing the same lungful of gas over and over again in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, then no, don't let me stop you pressing that like button, or that subscribe button too, that little red one there, and that little bell icon. He looks a little bit lonely by himself in the corner. Just give him a little click. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and safe diving. We are an online dive store serving the UK and the world for all your diving equipment needs. So why not visit us at simplyscuba.com or click the box on your screen.